We are on the last week of the I Am series. Oh, I have the clicker, so obviously I went the wrong way because that's just how I roll. And we're going to actually talk about not a statement from Christ, but a question. Who do you say I am? You see, in the Gospel of John, there are 7 I am statements that were made by Jesus. So this is the order that we went through them. The light of the world, the bread of life, the gate or the door, the good shepherd, the way, the truth, and the life, the true vine, and the resurrection and the life. Now, if you were to go through John, that's not the order that they are in John. I switched up the order just a little bit. It gave Brother Larry the opportunity to do the resurrection and life so he could bring some guests last week. My understanding, you got 51 weeks to plan, but there has been a request for them next Palm Sunday, so just put it on your calendar. I would have to put it on my calendar because I'm just going to forget between now and then. These are the I am statements found in the book of John. But there's another I am. This time a question, and it's not found in the book of John. It's actually found in the Synoptic Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I want to focus on the one in Mark. I read it earlier, but we'll read it again. Jesus and his disciples went on to the villages around Caesarea Philippi. On the way, Jesus asked them, "Who do the people say I am?" And they replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and others still one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" And Peter answered and said, "You are the Messiah." I want you to close your eyes for a second. And I want you to think, what is the most important question that you have ever asked? Or, what is the most important question that someone has ever asked of you? I'll tell you mine. You could open your eyes. It started in August of 2012. I was, my first day of law school, finding where my locker is at, where the class, yeah, we had lockers in law school, like junior high-ish lockers. Finding out where the classes were, signing all the documents, and I realized, man, these are a lot of documents. Oh gosh, there's a lot more documents to be signed over the next 10 years. And I had a few hours between that and our formal reception, where we meet judges and politicians and all those folks. And I wondered, what am I going to do for a couple hours? I made my way to the jewelry store. And I met the lady there. "What are you here for?" "I'm here for an engagement ring." "Well, what are you looking for?" I don't know. I want this size, I want this diamond, I want this, I want white gold, I want this carat, I want this type of cut. She's like, "Actually, that's a lot more than what our typical guy usually gives. They come in and like, I just want an engagement ring." So they showed me a bunch of different engagement rings. We're engaging in conversation, and we're talking, a bunch of questions going back and forth, and unfortunately, I didn't find it. I didn't find it then. But it wasn't for naught. In fact, we were talking back and forth, and the lady asked me, like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm starting law school here." "Oh, you're starting law school? Well, my future son-in-law's starting there too today." "Oh, really?" "Yeah, his name's Randy." I left the jewelry store, headed back to the law school, and I sit down, and some guy sits down next to me. It was Randy. "Weird story, Randy. I just met your future mother-in-law." And Randy and I sat next to each other for the rest of that semester, studying together. I eventually found the right engagement ring. And I had to sneakily get some meeting with someone's dad to ask him that important question. There's not really a response. He asked me a question in return. Bob, that's Elena's dad. Bob, do you mind if I ask Elena to marry me? And he goes, why would you marry into this crazy family? I wasn't expecting a question in response to my question. So being the decently smart guy that I am, I responded back with a question. Well, you've seen how crazy my family has, haven't you? I didn't ask for about 6 more months. A series of both fortunate events. Elena's sister got engaged 4 weeks after that. So I couldn't really pop the question at that time. And unfortunate events. My father passed away about 8 weeks after I talked with Elena's dad. It wasn't until after Christmas we made a trip to Colonial Williamsburg, and I had the box and the ring in my pocket. Elena kept on trying to, it's cold. It was cold, so she kept on trying to put her hand in my pocket to warm it up, and I had to no, like a little cat. No. Because on the campus of the College of William and Mary, there's this bridge where the urban legend is if you kiss a person on this bridge, you and that person will be with each other forever. And this is a time when I didn't ask the question because I couldn't find the bridge. And I should have asked for directions, but I didn't. Later that night, I did ask Elena if she would marry me, and she didn't respond. She started crying, and the hands started going like this, and I had to say, I assume that's a yes, right? And I get a head nod, and that's my most important question. Some of our engagement photos from, this was 12 years ago? 11 years ago? You can tell I'm getting up there in age when I can't remember how many years ago this is. Connor, you'll get there eventually. My most important question. Francis Chan, in his book, You and Me Forever, I think if I could paraphrase him, would say that this really is the second most important question. It drastically falls behind the most important question. Who is Jesus to you? That's the question that he asked his disciples. Who does the crowd think I am? And they came up with various responses. And then he asked them individually, who do you say I am? I have 2 pages worth of notes of what I want to talk about next. I'm not. I'm going to wing it. Is that okay? Can I wing it? It's the most important question. It's okay to have these questions about Christ. I'm not going to ask for your commitment to follow Christ. I'm not going to have Morgan go up and have an altar call so you can come up weeping like Elena was the day I asked her. You're not going to be all snotty-nosed like I am with all these flowers in the building. I had to take I try not to take medicine. I just had to. I just had to today, and I still sound this bad. I'm not going to ask for that. I ask just some curiosity, a commitment to at least think about who Christ is and explore that question some more. I don't think you need to figure it out completely. I haven't figured out how to change the oil in my car or the internal workings of the internal combustion engine, yet I still drove at 5 o'clock in the morning over South Mountain from St. Thomas here. If I had to figure it all out, I would have to leave yesterday morning at 4:30 on my horse and buggy, apropos for Anabaptism 101 next week. And then I still wouldn't use a horse. I don't know how to ride a horse, let alone an internal combustion engine. All your questions do not have to be answered. But I'll say this, that when Luke wrote the gospel that bears his name, he says this: many people have already applied themselves to the task of compiling an account of the events that have been fulfilled among us. They used what the original eyewitnesses and servants of the word handed down to us. Now, after having investigated everything carefully from the beginning, I have also decided to write a carefully ordered account for you, most honorable Theophilus, so you could blindly believe in Christ. That's not what he says. Because I want you to have confidence in the soundness of the instruction you have received. Even going outside the Bible, writers like Lucian, Suetonius, Pliny, Flavius Josephus have all talked about Christ. That he lived, that he was in Egypt, that he was persecuted by the Jews, that he did public works, that he healed people, that he raised them from the dead, that Rome crucified him and put him in a tomb. But what's not said, going to Brother Larry's message this morning about the empty tomb, they never talk about the body. You see, there could have been an easy way to disprove Christianity 2,000 years ago. Produce the body. And they never did. Which gives me pause to at least explore who is Jesus. You see, last week was Palm Sunday, and we celebrated the triumphal entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, but it wasn't the only parade. Pontius Pilate also came that week. Because Rome was always scared of the possibility of rebellion in Judea. What a great week to start a Jewish rebellion. Passover week, when Jews celebrate their freedom from Egypt. And so in Pontius Pilate, with his hundreds, if not thousands, of legion soldiers, there was no body, because Christ woke up and left the tomb. He wasn't stolen. Can you imagine a group of 11 guys tackling Roman legionaries? That's like me deciding to go up against the Green Berets. Yeah, I'm not going to survive that. I was in the military. I'm not going to. We had something called Airman Leadership School, and you have to go away. So you're something called TDY, Temporary Duty Assignment, and part of our flight was the translators. But another group are special forces. Now, these guys were just bad. If I was to ever go to a sketchy area, I want these guys behind my back, because their job was to go behind enemy lines by themselves and find enemy targets. No support, completely surrounded, have all the resources on their back, and they are just meant to survive. I never want to get into a fight with one of them. All our translators, all 6, do not want to get in a fight with just one of them, and there was 2 of them. Now, can you imagine the dozens of them guarding that tomb? It ain't a fair fight. The body was not stolen, because all you would have to do is find it and produce it. The tomb was empty. And at the very least, we must all tackle the question that Christ asks us through the ages. Who do you say I am? If you have those questions, I'm going to pick on Brother Larry because he's here. Feel free to ask any one of us. You don't have to come to the front. You don't have to make a public profession of faith. If you just want to explore that question, feel free to talk to us. We'll explore that question with you. And if you are already a believer, maybe there's areas in your life where I need to have Jesus more in that, more a part of it, that I haven't completely surrendered. We'll help you with those questions too. Curiosity it killed the cat, but it could lead you to the most meaningful relationship you have, that with Christ. Amen. Our last hymn is number 238 in the red hymnals. Christ the Lord is risen today.